it's time to wake up. We're about to go higher. From heroes to heroes, from heroes to heroes, from heroes to heroes, from heroes to heroes. It's been a long time coming, but we here now. Scattered all around the world, hidden in the midst of the nation. We was taken from far away, across the Atlantic to slave. Yeah, yeah. They came in disguise with their Lord. Their intention was people were sure. What kind of people that would do such a thing like this? Yeah. Stacking humans on top of each other, ripping children from their mothers, and making an example of their fathers. Oh, honey, this up. We've been through the fire, and now we're about to go higher. From heroes to heroes, from heroes to heroes, from heroes to heroes, from heroes to heroes. Sometimes it hurts so bad. The situation of my people is sad. They move around so they like cause they live with fear. Who are the first people? They always have those people. Shaking at those people. Every nation hates those people. We hear now, still my people. We coming into our heritage. You better wake up, this ain't no fairy tale. I-L-E is here. He's restoring our stolen identities. You know what this really, really means. We are so honey, it's up, it's up. We've been through the fire, the fire. It's time to wake up, we're about to go higher. I've been changed, I've been changed. I'll be the first to say I was one of them, that we only live by grace. And just as I was taught to listen to what my pastor say. Only you should trust in him, he will never lead you astray. But now that I know that he don't even live according to the letter, they throw away the holy scriptures, telling me that it's all done with. I've been changed, I've been changed, I've been changed, I've been changed. The truth has made me free. I've been changed. I am no longer deceived. I've been changed, I've been changed. Now let's take something that is so simple. Something simple like the fourth commandment. Remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. That's where it don't change. Why do you lie and defy the holy scripture just to satisfy your desires? And now that I know that you don't even live according to the letter, they throw away the holy scriptures, telling me that it's all done with. I've been changed, I've been changed, I've been changed, I've been changed. Ain't no going back to what I used to do. No, no, no. I'm a new man. I've been changed. Whatever you say, I will obey. I no longer listen to men. I test everything they say. Let the word of Yah be true, and let every man be a liar. I've been changed. No more worshiping on Sunday. I've been changed. No more Christmas, no more Easter. It's holy day. Yes, the chains they've been broken. I've been changed. And this truth will be spoken. I've been changed. Have mercy upon me, O Yah, for I am weak. O Yah, heal me. Psalm 6, verse 2. I give thanks. I give thanks. Have mercy upon me. Oh yeah, for I am weak. Oh yeah, heal me, heal me. Have mercy upon me. Oh yeah, I am weak. Oh yeah, heal me, heal me. I give thanks, 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 thanks. All I can say is thanks, thanks, thank you. All I can say is thanks, thanks, thank you. Have mercy on me, for I am weak. Oh yeah, have mercy on me. Oh yeah, I am weak. Oh yeah, all I can say is thank you. Thanks, thank you. All I can say is thanks, thanks. All I can say is thanks, thanks. Have mercy on me, oh yeah, for I am weak, oh yeah. Have mercy on me, oh yeah, for I am weak, oh yeah. Mercy of God, oh yeah, for I know. Mercy of God, oh yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. I gotta thank Yahweh for being chosen seed of Israel. Anticipation of the saints, here I bear the king, the commandments of the Yah, and the faith of my Shia. Oh, yeah. I gotta thank Yahweh for being the chosen seed of Israel. Anticipation of the saints, here I bear the king, the commandments of the Yah, and the faith of the Mashiach. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm here to encourage you, sister, trying to paint to you a better picture. Everything I say, I back it up with the scriptures to get you out the matrix. It's been over 400 years of life. You gotta open up your eyes. There's so many reasons being captivity. You gotta flee from the heathens. There is hope in our future, even though they trying to do a scene. But we live to fight another day. Agencies to y'all, we praying for y'all who are dead. Thank y'all for being the chosen seed of Israel. Israel. Here's a nation of the saints. Oh, here I am to keep the commandments of the child, and the faith of my Shia. Oh, 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 yeah, yeah. I gotta thank God for being the chosen seed of Israel. Yeah. Here's a nation of the saints. Here I am to keep the commandments of the child, and the faith of the Mashiach. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, do, do, da, da, da. Do, we, do, 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 da, da. Do, we, do, 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 da, da. Do, 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 da, do. Do, do, da, do, 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 da, 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 da. Do, we, do, we, do, 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 da, 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 da. Do, 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 do. It's about to go down, down. We the people of the book. I stay humble, I ain't even boasting. I'm just here telling you facts. No more secret, it's gotta be spoken. We out here living a lie. But they say that we equal. So put your hands up in the sky. Represent for the chosen people. Melanin, yeah, we got a lot of it. I can see the fear in them when they look at it. I can understand it because it's their nature. They don't fear God, but consumed by some glaciers. They always want to justify, define themselves not guilty. Pride so constant, living in iniquity. People, Shema, with people, Shema, Shema, right? Shema, with people, Shema, Shema, with people, Shema, Shema, right? People, Shema, right? With people, Shema, Shema, right? We the people that they took. I stay humble, I will not be shaken. My people is starting to wake up. Their minds scrambling, need a shake up. They rewriting history. Whitewashing images, forgery. It's all a conspiracy. Crafting counsel from my enemies. They stole our identities. Done away with our heritage. Had us working in the field. See, broken, we can't get no settlements. So cruel, they take it too far. On them people that resemble Cont'd. Perpetually, they really hate us. But we quickly coming out of our history. Shema, with people. Shema, 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 with people. Shema, people. Shema, 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 people. Shema, with people. Shouts out to my people. All right, blessings, 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 everyone. So good to see everyone today. What another blessed day it is. How good Yah is to us every single day. But we're grateful today for another Shabbat. We are here and ready. It's going down once again. Man, we are in part 10. Part 10. So that's like 2.5 months of dealing with this whole Shabbat controversy, y'all. And we're not done. We're not done. We got a whole lot left. This may be a 3-month. This could be a 3-monther right here easily. I'm going to try to make it for the next 2 weeks. But just last week, we delved into the idea that there was a possibility that there was a different historical concept of what a week consisted of. And as I promised y'all, you know, I'm not gonna come short on my promises. I don't make promises often, but when I do, trust and believe it is based on something I've researched thoroughly and have the goods to back it up. That's one thing that I noticed, y'all, about many people that, and they don't have to be preachers or teachers, but just people in general. We say things, but we don't have any proof or receipts to back it up. Or even better, we don't offer you those proofs or receipts so that you could go back and be like the Bereans in Acts chapter 17 to go back and see if those things that are actually being said, number one, are being understood correctly. Number two, that are being read within its context. Come on and go with me here. Just because you have a source, it doesn't mean you're reading it with the correct understanding within its context. It doesn't mean that you're understanding it in its context. And then number three, comprehension creates context. So if you have, now you got to be honest with your academic abilities. See, this is where a lot of people, they don't want to admit that when they were in elementary, middle, and high school, they struggled with comprehension. When did you develop that? because as an adult, you started working. You didn't have time to develop that. So when did you have time to develop your literary understanding and your literary skills and being able to interpret literature? Okay. And so we need to be honest. And if we, if we're completely honest, well, I got the Holy Spirit, I got the Ruach. Listen, y'all, the scripture says, study to show yourself approved. Yes, the Ruach will help. Yes, the Ruach is there to help. That's what he is called, the helper. Okay, he is the one that comes alongside. But he's coming alongside of who? Of you. And so when he comes alongside of you, what is he coming alongside of? Is he coming alongside of an individual who has the ability to comprehend? And so we need to really look at that. You need to be honest with yourself and say, you know what? My comprehension skills are really not that good. I need a teacher. I need someone to teach me how to study. Okay. I know a guy who doesn't know the difference between second person and third person and first person. Okay. If you don't know, if you play video games, you should know that. Most of the video games will come in either first person point of view or third person. Okay. And so we know that our younger Bible scholars, they understand point of view and comprehension. Okay. First person, you only can see what you can see. You can't see what's around you. You can't see in back of you. You can't see any of that unless you turn around. Now, I haven't played video games in I don't know how long. I think Atari still had stick figures. Okay. Pong. But these games today, man, you could play them in third person where you could see, and you could have an omniscient third person point of view or a limited third person point of view. Oh, come on and go with me here. You guys know those terms. You know how to identify those when you're reading literary text. All right. And so we need to be honest with our literary skills when it comes to approaching biblical literature, the scripts. All right. And the one thing I've noticed is that we're not getting a clear, number one, we don't have the evidence that is required for us to go back and do our own study. We got preachers and teachers that just say stuff. They just read. Where are you reading from? And then number one, is it a credible source? Well, what's a credible source? Okay. And so we gotta really delve into all of these ideas, especially when you're quoting historical sources. How do you know that that source is tertiary, secondary, or primary? And can you use a tertiary source when you're trying to prove your claim? And then just because you have a counterclaim, it doesn't mean that your counterclaim has refuted or disproven the claim. What is he talking about? Exactly. Okay, you need evidence for your counterclaim because, again, after all, it is simply a claim. Just because you say, I disagree with that, doesn't make your disagreement proof that you've refuted or disproven what is being said. So we really got to take a step back and say, I really don't even know how to communicate effectively when it comes to proving and disproving what I believe and don't believe. Take a step back. Hold your horses, pump your brakes. Take a formal and informal assessment of your skills and abilities. And then pray like everything depended on Yah, and then work like everything depends on you. So we got to realize, man, that these scripts are not just to be, we don't have toys to play with when it comes to the scriptures. We have tools to work with. Okay. And, I like to think of higher education is not some European institution that you get a degree from, which is nothing wrong with that. I just don't think of higher education in those terms. I think of higher education simply as this: you can go anywhere in the world and be critical in your thinking, and you can navigate the language, the culture, and you can make sure that your methodology will carry you anywhere in the world you need to go, because my methodology is based in fact finding and truth. Now, how do you go about that? Okay. And then, we don't even realize that, the scriptures use literary devices. Well, what, Pastor, what are you talking about? Do you know what a literary device is? I can give you a couple of easy ones that you'll automatically know: metaphor and simile. Scriptures use it all the time. But there are over 26 to 60 different literary devices. I believe there's around 60, somewhere around 60 that in this American culture that are being used. And then we're not even talking, see, that's just for written material. What about in our ancestors' tradition of oral tradition? There are literary devices in oral tradition as well. Okay. You see, these are the kinds of things that we need to bone up on. And so, I like the study of scripture, history, but we got to realize that scripture was not just, they're not just these words that are put together on a page. All right. So, I can go on and on about that, but I really want to get into this lesson today and deal with this Shabbat controversy, so-called Shabbat controversy. Last week, we left off dealing with some pretty interesting content, y'all. And I really want to jump right back into it. I'm not going to be before you very long, but I do want to inform you, you're going to need something to write with. You're going to need, listen, the content we're going to deal with today, and a lot of people bring this up as an argument against Shabbat. How do you know that Saturday? No, hold on. Let me get into their whole, well, I would, honor the Shabbat, you know what I'm saying? But, what, how we know that, how we know that Saturday is the seventh day? I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It could be, it's a possibility, right? That Sunday is the seventh. How you know Sunday's not the seventh day? Okay, just utterly nonsense. And you can tell it's not based on any type of study. It's not based on any type of research, but they're just looking and fishing for some reason to not honor and keep Shabbat. Okay, if you really want to come, see, this is why I don't have patience for people who don't have any kind of, I feel like the kind of work and research and the time that I put into the research, honestly, if I could be honest, why would I entertain someone and their thoughts about Shabbat and what day when they don't even put in the time and the effort to even study it and have a legitimate argument? Or if you don't like that word, a legitimate reason, simply beyond, I just disagree. What? That's foolishness to me. That is how we have devolved as a people. That we don't have any kind of critical thinking skills, many of us. And then the critical thinking skills that we do have is watered down with worldly understanding. And so most of what we throw on the wall and hope that it sticks is an emotional response to not knowing, instead of humbling down and saying, you know what, teach me. You arrogant, prideful, ignorant, no good for nothing. That's what we've devolved to. That's what we've devolved to. No, this is my introduction. This is my introduction. Okay? You know why I have introductions like this? Because of the climate we live in. I'm not moving on to the next slide. Okay? Until I get all of this out. Because the climate we live in has devolved into such an ignorant abyss of poor research. We don't research anything. Hold on, let me make sure that I can see my slides. Hold on. I know I'm sharing my screen. I can see it right here. So let me go out. I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to reshare because I want to make sure everyone can see what I am indeed sharing here. Okay, so everyone should be able to see that. But yes, we got to get back, and I'm gonna continue. See, a lot of preachers, they want you ignorant. They want you ignorant. They want you not knowing the books of the Bible. They want you to not know how to exegete or take out of the text what's in it. They want you to be ignorant of history. You know why? It's a few reasons. They don't have to study as hard. And then another big one is that you won't be able to question them when they're wrong, or you won't even be able to recognize if they're even in fact wrong or off. Why? Because they want to maintain this authoritative place in your life. And Lord knows they don't want you to listen to a person like me, because I'm going to move the needle. I'm going to move the goal. And I'm going to say, no, you can be a scholar. No, you can study to show yourself approved. No, you should be able to question and ask questions of your pastor. And then if the pastor is consistently teaching false doctrine, you should be able to fire him. What did Donald Trump, his show used to be? You're fired. Yeah. You're fired. Right? And so we live in this age. We live in this age that is unfortunate, but Abiyah has kept many people like me alive for such a time as this. See, I can see, thank you. I can see the times that we live in. I know the times. I'm not blind to what's happening. I've been in ministry over 30 years, yo. That's longer than many of these people have been living, let alone living for Yeshua. And I've learned how to navigate this language and apathy barrier. We don't have the language to articulate, I need help with study. Everybody thinks that because you have the internet, that all you need is a mic and a Wi-Fi connection, that you could all of a sudden open your Bible Oh yeah, you got a starter. They got a starter kit. You didn't know about the starter kit? It's a Bible, a highlighter. Hold on. The Bible, a highlighter. I'll show you the starter kit. Where's my other book that people like to use? Hold on. Oh, I'm gonna find it for you. Hold on, give me 1 second, y'all. Cause I gotta get my starter kit. Hold on, I want to make sure I have my starter kit. And give me 1 second. Hold on, I got it right here. Hold up. I gotta get you the starter kit. Man, I hate this. Every time I need my book, man. Hold on, I need my starter kit, y'all. Hold up. See, once I sit down, I'll be like, dang, there it is. Hold on, I'm about to get my starter kit out. Getting close. And where's my starter kit? Can't find it. Anyway, I'll show you a picture of it. Yeah, you know, there's 3 items to your starter kit. And let me show you what it is. Hold on, let me pull this up. Oh yeah, here it is right here. Let me show you the starter kit. Hold up. Bang, right there. Let me show you the starter kit, y'all. So all you need is a copy of this book right here, which is an excellent book. Rudolph Windsor's From Babylon to Timbuktu, a Bible, and a highlighter. That's your starter kit. And then once you have that, you just get your Wi-Fi connection and a microphone. And now you can start teaching the scriptures. That's all you need. That's your starter kit. And so, you know, this is the day and age we live in. Anybody can start saying, I listen, y'all, to people that teach, and there's no substance, there's no research evidence, no sources, just claims without any type of proof. And that's what people want. But see, I ain't gonna give it to you. I'm not giving you that. I'm gonna give you what you need. I'm gonna give you what you're gonna be able to see. See, what people are getting right now is they're hungry. And so they have preachers and teachers that are feeding them. I'm gonna teach you how to fish for yourself. I'm gonna teach you how to hunt for yourself so that you don't need to depend on me for your existence, for your spiritual existence. So I'm gonna teach you how to hunt. One more thing, and I'm done with that, but one more thing. After this series, probably in 2 weeks, and again, I'm gonna try to finish this up next week. So in about 2 weeks, I'm gonna be dealing with Purim. And the question is Purim pagan, or is it a biblical practice? I'm gonna deal with that. There's some good issues that will come out of Purim. Number one in the book of Esther, which deals with that, chapters 3. I mean, the whole book, but really, if you focus on chapter 3, 8, 9, there's other chapters too, but I would say those are the main chapters. But the book doesn't mention the Most High's name. What else? There's some other issues. Oh, the actual celebration, it doesn't directly mention that they were doing it towards Yah. That doesn't necessarily mean, but there's an issue with that people can use and bring up. So there are some issues with Purim. Then you have the final issue is how it's currently celebrated. But my question is, was the actual historical figures Mordecai and Hadassah, better known as Esther, were they influenced by the Medo-Persians to the point where it corrupted their celebration of Purim or Purim? Because the text tells us what they actually did in the book of Esther. It tells us how they actually celebrated. But my question is that celebration what they did in historical context, not what it's being done today, but is what Esther and Mordecai implemented and instituted in the 6th century BC, was that a mixture of Babylonian, Medo-Persian, Assyrian culture and religion? Or was it something uniquely focused on Hebrew culture and celebration of not being killed, being grateful and thankful for life? And so that's what we're going to look at. We're going to dive into that not next week, but the week after. And I'm going to bring up some arguments against, and I'm going to bring up some biblical arguments as well to show and prove whether or not Purim either is or is not pagan. And most importantly, should we celebrate it today? The biblical way, not in the manner in which many European Jews celebrate it, but to celebrate it in a biblical manner, in the way in which Esther and Mordecai did and the Israelites did in captivity in the Persian Empire. All right. So without further ado, guys, open your Bibles to the book of Genesis, chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1. And we're going to start again in verse 14. That's been our scripture, our not diving board, but our jumping off point, where we have used that particular scripture to jump right into the content today. All right. So Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to look at verse 14 through 19. Okay. And then today we're also going to go into Genesis chapter 2. So just, if you could write those scriptures down, Genesis chapter 1, it's on the screen right here. Genesis 1, 14 through 19. Then we're going to go into Genesis chapter 2 and look at a few verses there. The word of Yah reads, "And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven. And what is the purpose of those lights? To divide the day from the night." And we know from observation, we can know this, that there are 3 kinds of lights that separate the night from the day. We have the sun, which is 1. And then we have the moon and the stars, which divide the day from the night. And it says, and let them be, here's the purpose of why we have stars, the sun, and the moon. Let them be for signs, seasons, Now, this word season is not referring to summer, winter, spring, and fall. Don't get it twisted. This is the English. Okay. Now, this is another problem we run into is that if you only read English, you're limited in your understanding of the scripts. You're very limited. Okay. Number one, the English language was not written. It was not written down until around the 1500s. Okay. So we need to really, really understand that there are languages that people have been speaking and using for more than 3, 4, 5,000 years before English was even thought of, before England was even a country. Come on and go with me. All right. And so we really need to get a hold on our historical timeline. So this Hebrew word, watch this. Divide the day from the night for signs. Okay. Leotot. Leotot. Okay. Leotot is the word token, distinguishing marks, a banner, something that will cause remembrance. Okay. It's a standard. It's a miracle or a proof of something, or it could be a warning of something also. A beacon, a flag, evidence of something. It marks certain things. So the text says that the sun, moon, and the stars are for signs. But then it says for seasons. It's not summer, winter, spring, and fall, but the word in the Hebrew is moed. Okay, these are special appointed times that usually are given for feast days, which are found in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. And yes, Shabbat today is a feast day, and it is called a Moedim or a Moed, singular. And so, yeah, we have these again. It's not summer, winter, spring, and fall for seasons, but it is appointed times by Yah. Then days, we know what days are, Yom, these 24-hour periods, and then years, Shana, like we use the word for head of the year or New Year's, which is Rosh, which comes from the Hebrew head, Rosh Shana. Okay, Rosh Hashanah, which means beginning of the year or New Year's. And the word Shana is the Hebrew word for year, and Shanim is for years, plural. All right. And so these are the purposes of the sun, the moon, and the stars. It's to track time. It is like a clock. It is unique. It is God's unique timepiece, if you will. And so we need to really understand why we have the sun, the moon, and the stars in the first place. Okay. And if we really want to get into it, the sun, moon, and stars make up what we know today as a calendar. A calendar. All right. But I don't want to, just get back to the scriptures. Verse 15, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. So we see another purpose. It's not just for signs, seasons, days, and years, but it is to give light upon the earth. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day. We know that is the sun. And then the lesser light to rule the night, okay, which is the moon. And then it says he made the stars also. Okay. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. Verse 18. Okay. So not just to give light, but and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So, guys, today I want to continue in our series, The Shabbat Controversy. And today we're still dealing with the structure or the design from Sunday to Saturday. Is that historical? Is it fictional? Or is it biblical? So from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, is that a historical, fictional, or biblical design, setup, structure? Is our weekly setup? How do we know that at this moment? How do we know that is the seventh day of the week? How do you know that? How do you know that the seventh day of the week started last night at sunset? How do we know that? Again, there are those who don't want to celebrate Shabbat. They will bring this argument. Well, maybe, the week structure, right? It was different. All right. So I'm not going to go over the historical and biblical analysis. I've already shared that. But you definitely need to really understand how history works, why history is important. And we all believe it's important because we keep celebrating our birthdays. Come on, your personal history is important. So what makes you, unless you're self-centered, what's that other word for self-centered? Um, oh man, it's slipping my head. Narcissistic. Unless you're a narcissist, then, is that why you remember your birthday? Is that why you celebrate? Is that why you want people to give you gifts on your day in history? Because you're celebrating your personal historical moment? Are you a narcissist? Or do you really believe that history is important, that it has value? Okay, why do you celebrate the history of your birth if history is not important? Again, are you narcissistic, self-centered, or do you believe that history is important? So the question that I want to raise is the evidence, or is there evidence? Is there evidence of a different structure of the week in history that predates the 7-day week, starting with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and ending with the seventh day on Saturday? Is there any evidence that there was a different structure other than the one I just mentioned? And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at that today, y'all. And it turns out that we don't have a different structure, but we have a whole different concept of a week. And so there was in existence in ancient Egyptian society. Well, let me just read it. The 10-day week. Yes, there was a 10-day week, y'all. Structure used by ancient Egyptians originated during the Old Kingdom period in the 3rd millennium BCE. Specifically, it emerged during the 5th dynasty. Okay, so if you know anything about Egyptian history, they have these dynasties that will change when a family member is no longer ruling the kingdom. In other words, it will stay the 25th dynasty as long as a family member is on the throne. The moment a person outside of the family takes over the throne, the dynasty changes. That makes sense, right? If the Rams are continuously winning championships, they call it a dynasty. The moment they lose, then another team has an opportunity to begin another dynasty. Unfortunately, in recent years, 49ers have not been able to do that. But, you win some, you lose some. So specifically, it emerged during the fifth dynasty, sometime between 2500 and 2350 BCE. So this 10-day week, y'all, we're going to get into this. Now, let me say this. This 10-day week, of course, you didn't have the designation of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Those particular names didn't come until later, which we're gonna give you the history of that. However, let's get back to this 10-day week. Write this down. It was known as the decans. Okay, notice this word is similar to the word decade, meaning 10 years. But the decans comes from the this particular word comes from Latin, deca, which means 10, but today it's called the decans. This was a 10-day week used by Egyptians to track time and the stars. There were 36 decans in a 360-day year. Okay, so you could divide that up. And so within a month, you have 3 different decans. Okay, if it was a 10-day week and you had 3 decans in a month, that's 30 days. All right. And so that's how the ancient Egyptians tracked time and the stars. And so each month was divided into 3 10-day periods known as a decans. I just said that. It has been suggested that during the 19th dynasty and the 20th dynasty, the last 2 days of each decan were usually treated as a kind of a weekend. So you worked 10 days and then you had a 2-day weekend. Okay. For all the crafts. So this was designed for all the craftsmen, the artisans, and they were free from their work for 2 days. Okay. So once again, a decan, how long is a decan? It's 10 days. And so within a month, you have 3 10-day periods. Okay. And then they came along and they gave 2 days off. The last 2 days of each decan were usually treated as a weekend. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. The first decan. All right. And I want to show you this so that you know that I'm doing my due diligence. Okay. Okay. So the first decan, at its most simplistic definition, a decan means a 10-degree arc. You may want to write this down just in case someone asks you, or just in case you want to know for yourself, or look it up to see if I'm telling the truth or not. Okay. A decan means a 10-degree arc of a circle. More specifically, it is an astrological term subdividing the 12 signs of the zodiac into 36 equal segments. And I got this from this article called The First Decan, and it's on page 107. Okay, so let's look so that you can see what I see. It's page 104. 106. 107. And if you want this article, so what I'll do. So we're going to read a little bit here, but I'm going to give you the article in the private chat. Then I'm going to give the article as well. See, this is what real scholarship does. It allows you to go back and check to see if what I'm saying is absolutely the truth, Ruth. So here we go. We're going to start right here. Right here. So at its most simplistic definition, I got this directly from this text. At its most simplistic definition, a decan means a 10-degree arc of a circle. More specifically, it is an astrological term subdividing the 12 signs of the zodiac into 36 equal segments. I just gave you that quote. The ancient Egyptians invented the decans. For Egyptologists, now the word Egyptologist is usually for European researchers that study Kemet or Egypt. For those, our people, they call themselves not Egyptologists, but they call themselves Kemeticians. Okay, those who study Kemet. Egyptian is a Greek word. When Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, they designated it to be Egypt. In the Hebrew, the word is Mizraim. In Greek, the word is Egyptians. And Kemet is an ancient African word for the area known as Egypt. All right, folks. So for Egyptologists, the definitive study of these curious sky boundaries is contained in the 3-volume Egyptian astronomical text, researched and published by Nugabar and Parker between 1960 and 1969. They attributed the decans used to count the night hours as comprising 36 stars located in a belt south of the ecliptic, all behaving like Sirius, with the same invisible interval of 70 days prior to their individual heliacal rising. During their long usage, over 2,000 years, some individual decans' names were replaced or renamed. Decans survived on over 50 lists of pictorial astronomical records. So guys, there are 50 different lists or pictorial records that give proof to the use of this concept and idea called decans. The earliest such records date from the Middle Kingdom. Diagonal star clock coffin lids of the 9th dynasty. Okay. Their apogee came in the New Kingdom, notably in the tomb of Senemut and Ramesside tomb ceilings. So you got to understand a little bit about Egyptian history or Kemetic history. They would use their tombs as a way of sending messages because they believed that the person buried in the tomb would reincarnate, they would live again. And this is why they would bury them with all their riches. They would bury them with all of the writings so that they would remember, until grave robbers got smart and started digging up graves. And now they seal them in these tombs and caves, so that it makes it difficult to rob of all the wealth. All right, and so let's get into this. Let's get into this. And so I've given you a a visual The decans are an array of 36 southern constellations that mark the passage of the lunar year. Each triangle, okay, of stars marking, influencing, and ruling a 10-day period of the original Egyptian lunar calendar. Okay, so we have another source, all right, that I'm going to give you so that you can go back and read through this information. Okay. All right. And so this one is called Decans and the 36 funerary domains of the Old Kingdom. Again, they would bury, Egyptian pharaohs, people of prominent stature, in tombs that contain this writing in what we know as hieroglyphs, but it's called the Medu Neter. And let's just read it real quick. The Decans are an array of 36. So I read that already. That was the actual quote. The earliest record of them occurs, so we're right here. The earliest record of them occurred on a Middle Kingdom coffin. Okay, on a Middle Kingdom coffins of Egypt's Middle Kingdom 9th and 10th dynasty, circa around 2100 BC. Okay, but it is widely accepted that the close observation of the night sky was part of the Egyptian religious astronomy from the very earliest times. So although the idea of the stellar destiny of the king completely permeates the pyramid text, I have it somewhere. It's not in here. But you need these kinds of texts so that you can read it for yourself. There is no, now I wish I could read it in Medu Neter, but that's coming. There's no obvious reflection of this as a small-scale astronomical monuments, such as ceilings found in New Kingdom tombs and temples or coffins. In the Old Kingdom Pyramid Age, the star religion is seemingly only expressed in the large alignments of monuments such as those found in the pyramid fields of Giza and Saqqara. The most famous example being the so-called air shafts of the king's and queen's chamber of the Great Pyramid, which align to the pole star Draconis and the northern constellations in general, or in the southern sky to Orion on Sothis, two important constellations in the decanal belt. Okay, so you can see that this dividing of time was used early in the Egyptian kingdom, and it was a 10-day week. But again, it doesn't say anything about the structure Sunday through Saturday. Okay, so list of star names, they call it the Decan lists, have been preserved in several distinct contexts in Egypt from the first intermediate period around 2200 BC to the 2nd century AD. Okay, traditions of written knowledge in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. This is where I got this information from. Hold on. Let me go back. Okay. Again, I'm giving you sources of where I'm getting these ideas from. Context and elements of decanal star lists in ancient Egypt. Okay. And so if you would like, I can offer this to you as well. I'm not going to read everything that I have here, but I do want you to see that where I'm getting this information from. Okay, so context and elements of decanal star list in ancient Egypt. Page 91. Okay. Okay, so here it is. Here's the quote. Okay. And so you can go back like I did and read this chapter that looks at both the content and the context of these texts and how each evolved, adapting to different locations and purposes, and accrediting new elements. Hypothesis of why and when change occurred, the function of the star list, and funerary decoration. So again, they're talking about why they put these decans in funeral coffins. All right. But that's what I wanted you to know about that there is a list that they put in these coffins of prominent uh, pharaohs or important scribes or priests from the land of Kemet or Egypt. All right. So the first textual reference to decans are from the reign of Nusier Ini, which was a pharaoh during the 5th dynasty in the mid 25th century BCE. So if you can see these pictures, you can see these little star-like images that are dividing time right under the word the decanal stars, right next to Sopdet Sirius, or Sa, which is the Kemetic name for Orion, or Sopdet, which is the Kemetic name for Sirius. You can see these stars on top of the pharaoh's heads. You can see them here in this middle section. And so annotated astronomical procession from the ceiling of the tomb of Seti, which was another pharaoh, showing the Egyptian decanal stars. So this is actually from the tomb of one of the pharaohs called Seti, which is proof that they had these 10-day weeks that were divided into 3 different subdivisions, which equaled a month. All right. Here's another astronomical ceiling of Senetmut's tomb. And you can see the stars at the top up here, these star-looking characters. And then I wish right under these stars is called the language of Metanetra. And this all means something. So the way you read Metanetra is you take one of these lines, and if you look at the living beings in these lines, like you see a bird right here, you see a bird here, and then you see a person sitting here. What direction are they facing? They're facing right. So that's how you would read this, from the right to the left. Then you would start from the top to the bottom and then work your way over to the right, and then the top here, and then work your way over to the right, the top to the bottom. That is how you read Metanetra, based on the direction of the living beings in the text. I do know that so far. Okay, so this is another example of someone else's tomb that depicted the decanal star pattern. The number of decans in ancient Egyptian astronomy varied over time and in different traditions. In some contexts, there were typically 36 decans, with each decan or 10-day period representing a 10-day period. I just said that. This resulted in a 360-day year. Okay. So if you have a 10-day period, 3 of those in each month, then you would have a 360-day year, right? So decans originated from observing the stars and constellations that arose just before the sun for a period of 10 days each throughout each year. Now, again, if we go back to Genesis, chapter 1, we already know who created the stars. The Egyptians took the already created stars and began to interpret and use them for their own benefit. Now, when did Egypt begin to do this? We got to go to Genesis 10 to find that out. Okay? Because some people will say, well, Egypt was the first civilization to exist and blah, 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 and hooty har, har, har. Okay. But wait a minute. That is not true. Yah created the stars. And before Egypt, or Mizraim, who was a son of Ham, and I'm not sure who's older, Ham, Shem, or Japheth. I know Japheth is not. It's either Shem or Ham that are the oldest. But we can see here in verse 1 that the sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That's verse 1. And if we go down and look in verse 6, the sons of Ham are Cush, that's Ethiopia in the Greek. Okay, but Cush is the Hebrew name. Cush, Mizraim is Egypt. Okay, Put is the word Libya, and Canaan is modern day Israel. And these are the order of their birth. So watch this. We have Ethiopia, or Cush, who came along or is the oldest of Mizraim. So we know that Egypt didn't create this first structure of the week, which was they created their structure to be 10 days because they're not even the oldest. All right. And so if you look at Cush, who is the oldest of Ham's sons, look who came before Mizraim or Egypt, Nimrod. Now, what did Nimrod do? It says the beginning in verse 10, and the beginning of his kingdom, Nimrod, was not even in Egypt. Look at this. Babel, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, and the land of Shinar. And then before Egypt, look what he did. And out of that land went forth Ashur. Now, let me show you what that actually says in the Hebrew, because I showed this before, but I want to show you what it says in the Hebrew. What it says in the Hebrew, if you look in a different version, that's all you got to do. But if you read it, if you don't read Hebrew, you're going to have to search for a different English version. But if you read Hebrew, it will read like this. From that land, he went to Assyria and built Nineveh. You see how different that is? From out of that land went forth Ashur and built Nineveh. Okay. From that land, he, which is Nimrod, went to Assyria. So watch this. We have two great cities, actually more than that. Before Egypt was even a civilization, we have these cities that Nimrod built. We have Babel, which is modern day Babylon, ancient day Sumeria, Erech, Akkad, which is Acadia. You guys seen the what is it called? The that movie with The Rock in it. He's an Acadian. I can't remember the name of the movie. Anyway, and then the land of Shinar. And then he went to Assyria and he built Nineveh and the city of Rehoboth and Calah and Rezin, between Nineveh and Calah, the same as a great city. And then we read about and Mizraim begot Ludum. Now, I'm going to show you guys something next week that's going to blow you away when it comes to Nimrod in Egypt. I got something for you for next week. But we see before Mizraim even began to be to build cities, we're just talking about the birth of his sons. And before Egypt could even become a great city or a country or a nation or civilization, we have Nimrod building all these cities in the land of Shinar. All right, I'm going to show you that map in just a minute, but I want to get back to the names of the Decans. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read all these names. If you want this presentation, email me and I will gladly send it to you. But I do want you to see that these are the names of the stars that the Egyptians named them, and they associated the stars with a god. Okay. And so you can see, hopefully you can see these names and the associated gods with them. Okay. And so you can read through them. And if you want to find out these names, you can just easily type in Decans and their star patterns. You can go to Google right now and do that, and they'll give you these names. I got these names from a book called Calendars in Antiquity. Here, I'll show you the book real quick. I got these names from Calendars in Antiquities, Empires, States, and Societies by Saka Stern. Okay. But if you don't have this book, guess what I'm going to do for you? $180 book. Here you go. Why not? I didn't pay $180, and you don't either. There you go. That's my free giveaway today. All right. So let's get back into this. Here are the names. And trying to look. Here's that one, Sadep. Okay, the Southern Star series. We talked about that one. Sa, setter of stars. Yeah. Notice what they call their god in Egypt, Netcher. Netcher. It means God or spirit. Now, a very interesting thing. Think about the word Medu Netcher. Medu means words. The word Netcher means God. So even in the earliest understanding of the Egyptian language, Medu Netcher, or words of God, it suggests that they were serving, or they had some kind of concept of one God, which it ultimately evolved into serving many gods. But at the beginning of even their language, it has a monotheistic understanding, or a one God kind of concept. Medu Netcher. Again, Netcher is right here, which means God, and Medu means words. Okay, words of God. And so, even again, that's very interesting. And it will be an interesting area of study of when did the Egyptians begin to serve more than one God, because it suggests here that they did have some kind of understanding of a one God mentality. Again, the word, you may want to write that down. The word Netcher means God, and then the language itself, Medu Netcher, means words of God. Whenever you put a U, this is, I know that I've learned this too. Whenever there's a U after a particular word in the Medu Netcher, that makes it plural. So med would be word, and Medu would be words. Anyway. Now, is there historical evidence showing that the Sumerian civilization has earlier origins in Egypt. Now, I went back, if we go back to Genesis 10, I tried to show you that the beginning of Nimrod's kingdom, he started with Babel, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, which is in the land of Shinar. And then out of that land, out of these lands, the land of Shinar, which I'm going to show you is Sumeria, he went north and he went to Assyria. And he built the city called Nineveh. Long before Mizraim or Egypt was even considered to be a city, state, or a nation or civilization. Nimrod built these cities in the land of Shinar or Babylon or Sumeria. So my question is there historical? See, we can go to the Bible, but a lot of people, they don't like the Bible for some reason, for some wicked reason. So I want to show, I know the Bible teaches it, but I want to show, is there any historical evidence showing that Sumer or the land of Shinar has an earlier origin than Egypt? Okay. So again, the key word here is historical. Is there any historical? That's what we want to get to. Is there any historical evidence? Because have you considered Nimrod? Okay. I just shared that. I just went to Genesis 10. I showed you the sons of Ham and their names. Cush means Ethiopia, Mizraim, Egypt, Put, Libya. Canaan is Judea, Israel, or the Levant. Okay. If we look at Genesis chapter 10, verses 9 through 11. I just went through this. In the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Now, here's the map. Egypt is, I know it's not a great map. It's a little blurred. But if you can see Egypt way over here. Notice on the left of the screen, the top of Egypt, closest to the Mediterranean Sea, is called Lower Egypt. And if you go down to the bottom, that's called Upper Egypt. My picture's in the way. So you can see Upper Egypt is down here, right? Does anyone know why the top is called lower and the bottom is called upper? Does anyone know why? Share your thoughts. Have you learned that in school? Have you even learned about Egypt in school? And did they teach you that? That's a very important geographical, cultural, historical information about this particular place called Egypt. Why is it that what we would consider the top or upper, or the upper part, is called lower? And then why is the bottom, which we would consider lower, called upper? Does anyone know? Take a guess. You can type it in the chat. You can open up on live. You can share it verbally. What do you think? It's okay to guess. Well, let me share with you. It's according to the flow of the Nile River. See this green part here in the middle? I don't know if you can see my mouse. You can see my mouse here. But this green part here that separates the Red Sea on the right, this green part is the Nile River, and the Nile flows from the bottom upward. And this is why they designate the top lower, because it flows down the Nile. And this is why they consider it upper at the bottom, because it flows from the bottom down to the Mediterranean. So we got this whole thing flipped upside down. See how the educational system over here has flipped everything upside down, even with considering the flow of the Nile. But look at to the right. Look at all these kingdoms over here. That Nebuchadnezzar, sorry, that not Nebuchadnezzar, but that Nimrod, all these cities. So let's find out. We got Akkad right here. We got Akkad. We got Ashur or Assyria here. We got Nineveh up here at the top. We've got down here in the orange. Yeah. So we have all of these cities that Nimrod created long before Egypt was considered a civilization. And so I wanted to introduce this, and this is going to be for next week. This Nimrod was a mighty hunter. And I'm going to show you some interesting things about that. And which is related to answering this question right here. Is there historical evidence showing that Sumer or the Sumerian civilization has earlier origins than Egypt? Okay. But I did want to show today that there was a different weekly structure in regards to how many days were in the week. But again, the idea of Sunday through Saturday, historically, there's no evidence to show that there was a different structure. Ergo, Sunday could not have been the seventh day of the week. And I'm going to show by next week where they get Sunday as the first day of the week. And again, that's going to make a full circle. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to show and prove historically. And again, it has to do. Remember I brought up this, guys, right here. Let me go back. Remember I brought this up? The ISO 8601? Because I did say that even in this, ISO 8601 prescribed that Monday is treated as the first day of the week. Remember I shared that last week? And Sunday as the seventh day and the last day of the week. Remember I shared that? But again, do you remember what year this started? American National Standard Institute. Do you remember the year that this that I shared with you when this started? Let's see if I have the year here. It's very recent. It was in the 1900s, y'all. It was in the 1900s. I think like 1919 or something like that. 1920, 1930s. Between 1900 and 1930. Almost 4,000 or 5,000 years after the fact. The U.S. and European governments came up with this idea to change the work week starting with Monday. All right. And so we're going to come full circle next week as we end this series. But again, I hope you learned something today that you didn't know. I hope this confirms your idea that we're chipping away at this Sabbath controversy. And I'm showing you the origins of where the different calendars came from, and that historically, there has been no evidence to show that there has been a difference between the structure of a week, which is Sunday through Saturday. However, in ancient Egypt, there was a 10-day week, but I'm going to show you even next week of where that came from. What transitioned from Genesis 1, come on and go with me. Genesis 1. Actually, let me go to Genesis 2, which I said I was going to go to, but I'm going to it at the end. That's what I wanted to do anyway. So we know Genesis 1 is a collection of what Yah did on the first to the 6 days, day 1 to day 6. But look at what Genesis chapter 2 starts with. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. So that's day 1 through 6. Then verse 2 says, and on the 7th day, God ended his work which he made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. And again, the reason why we rest on today and on Shabbat on the 7th day is because of verse 3 right here, verse 2 and 3. Okay. And so this was long before Egypt or Kemet or Mizraim was even born. Mizraim was born to Noah. Sorry, Ham. Yes, Noah too. Ham was the father of Mizraim and the grandfather of, so Noah was the grandfather of Mizraim or Egypt. Okay. And so long before Noah was even born, we have Yah, Adam and Eve, and everyone that can. Even Noah practiced this 7-day rest. Yes, he did. Adam passed it on to his children. Do I need to show you the generations of leading all the way up to Mizraim to show you that Adam passed on this rest of 7 days to his sons, and they passed it on to their sons and daughters, all the way till we get to Noah? Okay. And it wasn't until Mizraim or Egypt came up with this 10-day week, which was different from the 7-day week, which is completely different from Sunday. Now, again, I shouldn't even say Sunday, day 1 through 7. All right. So let me show you. So all the way from Adam. So we have Adam right here, right? So we have Adam who rested on the 7th day as well. Seth, which was Adam's son, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah all celebrated and rested on the 7th day. Okay. Then we have Shem, which was one of Noah's sons. Okay. And then you go down to Apharxad, Salah, Eber, Peleg, Rus, Serug, Nahor, Terah, Abraham, all celebrating resting on the 7th day. Then we can get into the generation of Yeshua, leading all the way to Yeshua. Okay. We could do that. All right. But we're going to stop right here. And next week, I'm going to pick up, watch this right here. I'm going to pick up right here. And I think, I can't remember what day of the week that's going to, I mean, not day of the week, but I can't remember the date. I know it's going to be March. Wow. This is amazing. This month is already going to be over by next week. I'm not sure what day it's going to be, the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, but I'm not sure. But next Shabbat, Yah willing, we're going to pick up right here, and I'm going to deal. Actually, I'm going to put this right here, And we're going to go to Nimrod. And we're going to look at some interesting things about Nimrod. And again, we're going to show proof that there is historical evidence showing that the Sumerian or Babylonian kingdom or civilization has earlier origins. And if that is the case, how did Egypt reject this 7-day week, day 1 through 7, resting on the 7th day, and then go from that to this 10-day week? Okay. Then I'm going to show you that the Greeks came in and then re-implemented the 7-day week and then began to name the days after the planets. Instead of just saying day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they began naming the days after their planets. This is why you have Sun Day, which is one of the sun god, to honor the sun god. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to honor Thor. Friday, and then Saturday to honor Saturn, the planet Saturn. We're going to show you all that. All right. So blessings, and I pray that you were blessed today, and I will see you next week. Shabbat shalom to each of you. Blessings.
Shabbat shalom, Bernice.